The third category of constructs in the SCT is supporting determinants of behavior. These are factors that directly influence our ability to engage in a behavior. The first is behavioral skills. It's really important when you're engaging in a behavior to have the skills to perform that behavior. Otherwise, you're not going to want to do it, you might hurt yourself, and you're probably not going to continue that behavior. So an important intervention strategy then is to teach people how to appropriately engage in the behaviors that we want them to engage in. Next, we have intentions and goal setting. Intentions sounds like another health behavior theory, the theory of reasoned action and the theory of planned behavior. So the SCT posits that an individual has to be motivated to change a behavior. They have to want to, and they have to intend to engage in that behavior. And they have to regulate themselves through a system of goal setting. So motivated people often set goals for themselves to engage in different behaviors, and this can be a great strategy for an intervention, is teaching people to set goals to help them progress towards making that behavior or maintain that behavior. And then finally, we have reinforcement and punishment, and this actually is derived directly from operant conditioning. And you may recall that at the beginning of this lecture, I said that the SCT is a departure from that old line of thinking. However, Albert Bandura did still recognize the importance of establishing a system of rewards and punishments for influencing a behavior. So these can be things that an individual creates for themselves, or potentially things that exist in the environment. Another key factor in the SCT is the idea of reciprocal determinism. And the figure on the screen demonstrates reciprocal determinism. This means that an individual is influenced by their environment, but an individual is also influenced by their own behavior, and an individual's behavior influences their environment. All of these factors connect to each other. There's double-sided arrows between each of these factors. An example of this is that a gym opens up in a neighborhood, a new gym. It's a change in the environment. An individual goes to the gym and they feel really great about themselves. So now we have a person factor and a behavior. Behavior is going to the gym. So then the individual starts going to the gym more, and they tell their friends, and their friends start going to the gym more. And then the gym has such high attendance that it opens another location. So the environment changed, it changed to the person, it changed to the behavior, and now the behavior and the person are reciprocally changing that environment even more. So my question to you, and I want you to pause the video now and just take a minute to think about this. Think about an example of this in your own life. How does reciprocal determinism factor into one of your health behaviors? How are you influenced by your environment, or how does your behavior influence the environment? Let's conclude by talking about some of the strengths and weaknesses of the SCT. Strengths, as you've seen, is that it is fairly comprehensive. It does assess a number of individual and external factors, and that is an advantage over intrapersonal level theories. And because it does identify these various factors, it emphasizes the need to target multiple influences on an individual when you're trying to make behavior change. Another great benefit of the SCT is that some of the constructs of the SCT have been very well tested empirically in research. Specifically, self-efficacy and observational learning have a wealth of scientific backing to support the importance of these constructs to behavior. There are several notable limitations of the SCT. First is that it doesn't address what I call the human factor, personality or feelings or emotions. Individuals do act unpredictably, and we don't always behave how we should in different situations with different influences and opportunities, and the SCT can't account for that. It also overlooks biology, meaning that there are genetic and physiological factors that can play a role in an individual's behaviors. Also, it does not do a great job of explaining the relationships between constructs. So, is observational learning more or less important than self-efficacy, or vice versa? For example, is observational learning more or less important than self-efficacy in inspiring a behavior? You may recall that a good theory should have a conceptual model that specifies the relationships between all of the constructs, as well as the relationships between the constructs and a behavior. And the SCT does not have this. And then finally, because the SCT is so broad, which is a benefit of it, it does make it really difficult to test fully. Almost no interventions have used every single construct of the SCT and tested it in its entirety. So we don't have a lot of data about how the SCT works when used fully.